What happens when a leader no longer respects the rules that brought him to power? What happens when promises are broken, institutions are weakened, and accountability begins disappearing? Throughout history, nations have faced this exact challenge. Citizens elect leaders expecting service, but sometimes those leaders begin serving themselves. The question is not whether this has happened before. It has happened countless times. The real question is this: what can ordinary people do when those entrusted with power refuse to maintain political integrity? Must they accept it? Must they remain silent? Or does history reveal another path? The answer may determine whether a society moves toward renewal or decline. And few people realize the truth. The greatest defense against failed leadership has never been a single hero. It has always been an informed and organized citizenry. History is filled with leaders who entered office promising reform, justice, prosperity, and accountability. Some delivered. Many did not. As power grows, temptation grows. The temptation to silence critics, the temptation to weaken institutions, the temptation to place personal interests above public interests. When this happens, societies face a dangerous moment, not simply because of the leader's actions, but because of how citizens respond. Do they become passive observers or active participants? The answer has shaped the fate of nations for centuries. But before we get there, we need to understand how societies reach this point. Every political system begins with hope. Citizens believe their institutions will protect them. Courts will uphold justice. Legislatures will represent the people. Elections will provide accountability. The leader is expected to serve within established rules. Trust exists. Participation exists. People may disagree politically, but they generally believe the system can correct itself. This trust becomes the foundation of stability. But stability can create complacency, and complacency creates vulnerability. The hidden danger often develops slowly. Citizens become less engaged. Voter participation declines, public oversight weakens. People begin assuming someone else will defend democratic principles. Someone else will speak up. Someone else will hold leaders accountable. This creates a vacuum, and history teaches a powerful lesson. When citizens stop actively protecting institutions, ambitious leaders often begin testing their limits. At first, few notice, yet the seeds of future crises have already been planted. Then warning signs begin appearing. Promises are broken. Transparency declines. Political opponents are demonized. Independent institutions come under pressure. Loyalty becomes more important than competence. Critics are portrayed as enemies. Supporters dismiss concerns. Opponents sound alarms. The nation becomes divided. Some see danger. Others see strength. The conflict is no longer merely political. It becomes psychological, and that changes everything. History reveals common warning signs whenever political integrity begins eroding. Facts become less important than narratives. Institutions become weaker than personalities. Public servants become loyal to individuals rather than principles. Citizens begin viewing politics as tribal warfare. Each side becomes convinced that winning matters more than accountability. Most people dismiss these developments. After all, life continues. Businesses open. Schools function. Society appears stable. Yet beneath the surface, trust is deteriorating. And trust is the currency of every healthy political system. Eventually, citizens face a choice. A profound choice. Do they retreat into cynicism or become more engaged? Do they surrender responsibility or embrace it? Many people assume their only options are silence or confrontation. History suggests otherwise. The most successful societies pursue a third path: constructive civic action, peaceful organization, institutional engagement, persistent accountability. What happens next often determines the future. Before we continue, consider this. Every generation inherits freedoms, institutions, and opportunities built by those who came before. But every generation must also decide whether to protect them. That is why School of Revolution exists. to uncover the hidden lessons of history, power, leadership, freedom, and social transformation. If you enjoy thoughtful documentaries that challenge assumptions and reveal how societies succeed and are, they'll subscribe now. Because informed citizens are the strongest guardians of a free society, and the greatest revolution begins in the mind. Now let's continue. When citizens become informed and engaged, positive changes often emerge. Communities organize. Independent voices grow stronger. Public discussions become more informed. Civic organizations expand. Journalists investigate. Citizens monitor institutions. Transparency increases. At first, progress appears encouraging. The public begins reclaiming its role. Hope returns. Confidence grows. But there is a problem. Success can create overconfidence. Many reform movements fail because they focus entirely on opposing a leader. They neglect the deeper challenge. Building strong institutions. History teaches that replacing one leader changes little if underlying weaknesses remain. A society dependent on personalities remains vulnerable. A society built upon institutions becomes resilient. The fatal flaw is confusing resistance with renewal. The two are not the same. As accountability efforts expand, resistance emerges. Power rarely surrenders itself willingly. Critics may be ignored. Reformers may become discouraged. Progress may appear slow. Citizens begin questioning whether their efforts matter. This is often the first major test, because meaningful change rarely occurs quickly. The temptation to give up becomes powerful, and many do. Yet, history shows that persistence often separates successful movements from forgotten ones. Pressure increases. Political tensions rise. Public debates become more intense. The stakes become clearer. Citizens recognize that the issue is no longer merely about one leader. It is about the future of the political system itself. Will institutions remain independent? Will accountability survive? Will future leaders respect established rules? The questions become unavoidable, and the answers will shape generations. Eventually, society reaches a moment where neutrality becomes difficult. Citizens must decide whether to participate or withdraw. Communities must decide whether to organize or complain. Institutions must decide whether to remain independent or become instruments of power. The future begins taking shape through countless individual choices. History enters a decisive phase, and the outcome remains uncertain. The confrontation may not occur on a battlefield. It may occur in elections, in courts, in legislatures, in communities, in public opinion. Citizens engage peacefully. Institutions are tested. Leaders face scrutiny. Public debate intensifies. The nation watches. For a brief moment, the future hangs in the balance. Will accountability prevail? Or will power continue expanding unchecked? What happens next becomes a defining chapter in the nation's story. Section 12. The immediate outcome. Eventually, consequences emerge. Perhaps reforms are enacted. Perhaps institutions are strengthened. Perhaps new leadership emerges. Perhaps citizens become more engaged than ever before. The immediate outcome varies. But one thing becomes clear. Public participation matters. Citizens are not spectators. They are stakeholders, and societies function best when people recognize that responsibility. The deeper effects appear over time. Citizens become more politically aware. Institutions learn from their failures. Communities become more resilient. Future leaders understand they will be scrutinized. The culture begins changing, and culture often shapes the future more powerfully than any election. The lesson is not merely about leaders. It is about citizenship. Power requires accountability. Freedom requires participation. Institutions require protection. Leadership requires scrutiny. No political system remains healthy automatically. Every generation must maintain it. Every generation must strengthen it. Every generation must defend it. History repeatedly confirms this truth. The question of political integrity is not limited to one nation or one era. It is universal. Every society faces moments when leaders are tested. Every society faces moments when institutions are challenged. Every society faces moments when citizens must choose between passivity and participation. The future depends on those choices. Because strong societies are not built by perfect leaders. They are built by engaged citizens who understand their responsibilities. And that lesson remains as relevant today as it has ever been. History teaches a powerful truth. When leaders fail to maintain political integrity, the future does not belong solely to those leaders. It belongs to the people, to citizens willing to stay informed, to communities willing to organize peacefully, to institutions willing to uphold their responsibilities, to individuals willing to place principles above personalities. The greatest safeguard against failed leadership has never been blind loyalty. It has always been active citizenship. Because freedom survives when people participate, institutions survive when people defend them, and societies thrive when accountability remains stronger than power. History does not repeat itself, but it often rhymes. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe to School of Revolution, like this video, and share it with someone who cares about leadership, accountability, and the future of society. And tell us in the comments, what do you think is the most effective way citizens can promote accountability in a society? Until next time, remember, the greatest revolution begins in the mind.